How do? So welcome to this video. Today we're going to talk about Meilisearch. So I have an app that I'm working on. It's called Cherish. It is basically a glorified contacts address book. Here it is in all its glory. And I wanted to implement a search, a global search, where basically I could press Command K and then I could search for the person, whoever it will be. Let's search for Joliet. And when I press enter, it will navigate to that page. And then I can press Command K and I can search for someone else. Now, that functionality that you see, so when you click on this search and brings it up, this is Meilisearch in action. And I just wanted to share with you how I went about it. I'm using Laravel on the back end, React on the front end. So I want to share how I went about it. Let's start off with talking about Meilisearch. If you've never heard of Meilisearch, Meilisearch is a RESTful search API. Basically enables you to add search to your website, and it's super quick. It has a cloud version which you can pay for, which I am not using. I am using a local version. So I have it running locally on my computer and I am using that. So I just wanted to share how I did it. The documentation for Meilisearch is really good. So I suggest you check that out. So you can definitely follow along with that. I implemented it pretty easily, although I did get tripped up on a few things. So I want to kind of share with you in this video what I got tripped up on, because if you're like me and sometimes when they're talking about keys, you get confused because you're like, is that an API key? Is that a generated key? Is that I have to generate myself? You know, you get confused and then you end up banging your head against the wall because you don't know what key is which. Anyway, we'll get to that. So to start with, Laravel makes this super easy. So Laravel has this thing called Laravel Scout. Okay, here it is, Laravel Scout. So if you want to introduce or if you want to implement search on your website when you're using Laravel, then you can use Laravel Scout. It's like a library, you can install it. The Laravel docs have a great way to do this. So let's have a look. You basically use Composer. You install this Laravel Scout. You have to install this, or you have to publish rather, this vendor, this Scout service provider. And then you just have to add this use searchable to the models that you want to use and search. So that's super easy. So you do that first, right? And then you can choose, right? You can choose if you want to use Algolia, Meilisearch, or TypeSense. I tried Algolia, it was fine, but I didn't want to use it because you have to pay for it, and I don't like paying for things, especially when I'm trying them out. They do have a free tier, to be fair. I just didn't like it. And then they have TypeSense and they have Meilisearch. I went with Meilisearch because on that day when I was looking at the documentation, I thought this is nice documentation. One thing I really like about their documentation is they do guides. For me, as a developer, I like to try things out by getting my hands dirty, and I like to go through guides. So here they have a really clear guide on how to install it. You need to install this Scout service provider, which I just said. You need to install this Guzzle. Don't really know what that is, but you have to install it. And then you have to update your .m file with these special keys. So what I did is I named my keys like this. Okay, so first of all, you need to declare the Scout driver, Meilisearch. So that's like telling Laravel, this is the driver we're going to use, Meilisearch. Then you have to get this key, this UUI Meilisearch key UID, which isn't so obvious. I'll show you in a minute how I went about that. You have to declare the host where it's running locally. So this is running locally on port 7700. Then you have to declare a master key. Now the master key you can generate yourself. Okay, so this can be any, I think it needs to be longer than 16 characters, but it can be any random key. And then you need the API key, which Meilisearch provides you with. Let's say you have Laravel set up with Scout. You did all that malarkey. You then have to install Meilisearch locally. You can use brew install Meilisearch. Very straightforward. So you do that, right? Okay. Then once you have it installed locally, you have to run it locally so your application can find it. So you type in Meilisearch. Well, first of all, you have to declare your master key. So you have to do an export. Did I really write export? Anyway, just ignore that. You have to declare your master key locally in your environmental variables. You do that, and then when you run Meilisearch, it will run with the master key, right? So now this is running with a master key. Why do you need a master key? Because it makes it more secure. So it runs with and now that's running. And what that does, if you go to your browser, you will have this mini dashboard. So this is Meilisearch running, okay? And before it will start finding stuff in your data, you need to import the data into Meilisearch, right? So I want to search my website by friends or notes. So if we go to friends, for example, and here it's kind of acts as the UI. So you can type in, okay, I want to type for Marta, and then it finds it. It has the search where if you make a spelling mistake, it will still find it. It's really good. And it basically gives you these results. So these are the results that you can now get from your website, which is super cool, right? So once you're running Meilisearch locally, this is what it gives you. Cool. You follow me so far? Good. Let's get to the keys, because this is where I tripped up and I spent a long time trying to work out how to do this. One thing I need to say about my website is, like, I have users, and users have their friends and their notes. So when you do the search, you want to search only for the friends and users that belong to you, right? You don't want to be finding friends that belong to another user or notes that belong to another user. So in that case, you need to use something called tenant tokens. So there's this like multi-tenancy guide, and also this using tenant tokens with an official SDK. So the documentation, like I said, it's really good. It can lead you through it. In that case, what I needed to do, let's go to some code. Should we go to some code? Let's go to some code. So you need to create on the back end, because I'm using Laravel, as I keep saying, you need to create these tenant tokens. So what I did is I created this function, or class rather, this create tenant token. And I got all this from the documentation, from the guides. But you basically have to get your API key. You have to get your... No, this is the... You see why I got confused so much. I get confused so much with all these keys. Master key, UID key, and search API key. 3 keys, right? Master key you create yourself, and the 2 other keys you get from Meilisearch. Let's get the keys first. That's a good idea. So what I did is I went to Postman, and you can use your master key. So if you go to authentication, you can use your master key as the bearer token, and you make a GET request to 7700 keys, right? And what this gives you when you make this request is it gives you your search API key and your admin API key. So here you can find out, okay, this is my UID for my search, and this is my API key. So those are the 2 keys you need in order to create tenant tokens. If you're confused, good. I was confused. It's good to be confused. Go and read the documentation. And also, can I just say, AI was completely hopeless in helping me with this. It was sending me down all kinds of rabbit holes, which were fruitless. So eventually, I just read the documentation and it worked out. So you have these keys, right? And when you have these keys, so here, this is the UI key, the API key. You create an instance of the Meilisearch. You have to add filterable attributes. So I wanted to search by friends or notes. So you have to add these filterable attributes. And then you can generate, there's this generate tenant token, which is a method you can find on this Meilisearch instance you've created. And here you have to pass in the UID, the search rules, which is here you basically want to filter everything by user ID. And the options, which is the only option we have, is the API key at this moment. So when you have all of those, then you can generate the tenant token. And then once you've generated that tenant token, what I did is on the request, on the session, I attached it to that session, and then passing it back on the inertia request, I passed it back as part of that request. So because I want this search available everywhere in the website once the user's logged in, so whether they're on the dashboard, a user page, a notes page, doesn't matter where they are, they should be able to search. It's a global search. So therefore, I put it on every authenticated request as this tenant token. So then it passes it through to the front end. And then I have this component here, right? This search, this is on the front end. So I have this, and this is the search spotlight. This is the component I'm using. Now, I'm using the spotlight component from Mantime. If you don't know Mantime, it's a component library. Really good. I highly recommend you check it out. I've been using it a lot lately, and I really like it. So there's this spotlight, and the spotlight is you press Command K, or you click on it, it pops up with that box. And then I'm using this JavaScript library, this Meilisearch function from the Meilisearch JavaScript library. And here I put in the host. So this is the 7700 and the tenant token that I've received as props from the backend. So this tenant token basically tells Meilisearch, okay, with this tenant token, they should have access only to the documents that have the user ID of that user. Amazing. And then in here, I'm basically making a couple of promises using promise.all to collect all these friends and notes. I did that. You can do a multi-index, or there is some function on here which is like you can do all the searches together, but I wanted to display different items depending if it's a note or a friend. So what I did is I just did two separate, I separated them out. So I have a friend and I have a note. And then on the friend item, for example, I want the label to be the first name and the last name. But on the notes, I want the label to be the title of the note. So if we go back and I go here again and I go type in T, you can see here, like you have the first name and last name. Here we go. A good example of notes. Here you have the title and description. So if you point on this, that's great. You see, you get a 404. That's exactly what I wanted. Didn't want that. But you get the idea, right? That enables me. This code enables me to display what is useful to the user so they can see relevant information for what they want to search for. So all of this code here is essentially setting up this data here, which then you just map over and render out in this spotlight action, which the user can then click on and they get linked to the specific item they want. So that's what I did. Now, as I said, I'm a big fan of guides, and I'm an even bigger fan of demos. And one thing that Meilisearch has is they have this demo. So you can come here and you can like search. Let's try it. Yeah, there we go. You can. This is like their search in action, and they even provide you with a GitHub repo. So I cloned this and I was searching through the code. This is for me, it's the best way to learn is to have a good example actually implemented. You can go through the code. You can have a look. Okay, how do they do this specific thing? And you can really see how to do it. This was a big help for me. So I'm a big fan of this. Another reason why I went with Meilisearch, because it wasn't just, you know, when you get the documentation, it's just like, this is a very contrived example. And it's like, okay, yeah, if I wanted to search for all movies and, you know, every user could find everything, it's just not very useful for me personally. So I really like the fact there's this good demo, you know, it had tenant tokens in it. It really allowed me to understand a real life implementation. A few other things to note. Here you can see this is where it talks about filterable attributes. So you can decide what you're going to filter by in your Meilisearch requests. They also have this in the documentation. They have these guides, right? And they have this, just to let you know, if you're not a front-end developer and you want something quick and easy, for example, on React, you can use this React Intersearch and intersearch.css. What this does is, as the page loads, it like brings up the search automatically. So it's like instant search. I didn't want this, right? What I wanted was I didn't want to do any search on any. It's only when the user takes some action. I want it to be like event driven. So only when they come here, like there's still no search, but as soon as they type something, that will trigger the search. That's what I wanted. So that instant search was not a good solution for me. That's why I didn't go with it. And also I just prefer coding these things myself on the front end as much as I can. But just to let you know, there's these things available. They also have the link to the GitHub repos. Again, really nice documentation. I'm sure they're going to have examples here. Okay, this is Algolia. What am I talking about? I don't understand that because it's got like instant Meilisearch, but that link was Algolia. Whatever. It's there if you want to use it. If you want to use Vue, add a search bar. You know, it leads you through a lot of things. It gives really good examples. It even gives you examples with Laravel multitenancy guide. So really good examples. Did I want to talk about anything else? Nope. Oh, one thing I missed, kind of important, on the config. So you have this Scout config. In here, you can declare here, you have to declare here the Meilisearch. The host, I think, is already declared, but you have to declare the master key, right? So this is something you have to use in here. And then up in the Scout driver, again, declare Meilisearch. This will tell Laravel you want to use Meilisearch as the search engine of your choice. So that was it. That's what I wanted to share. That's the way I used it. Please share your own experience. If you think I did something stupid, please let me know. If you have other examples, other ways that you did it, please share links in the comments. And otherwise, have a great day coding.